What's up, guys? How we doing? Tuesday night hangout. Kramer, not Matt. Kramer, it's not 9:21. It was a couple minutes before. So I think that the YouTube mess up. Maybe we were just it was saying a little bit late. No, just a few minutes late. What's that? How's everybody doing? Appreciate you guys being patient. You know how it is. Usually, regardless of what time it's scheduled, it's a couple minutes late. Should be having Anthony DiBona join the stream, so that's fun. Having there. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. There's a pinned comment, by the way, going to give away a rookie jersey of your choice at 10 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you're commented on the previous video. Again, there's the link in the pinned comment of this video. All you got to do is click that. Make sure to get in on it. But the draft was legit. It was a long one. It was some unexpected. I feel like we did pretty good. What's up, everybody? How we doing? John, Will, Michael, Garrett, Ernie, Carolyn, Cool Rains, Ronnie. Y'all are the best. I'm feeling pretty good. You know, the eternal optimist for the most part. But the draft class that we got, I mean, you could just go down the list. You just rattle off the players. Jihaad Campbell. I don't know how the NFL let Jihaad Campbell fall all the way to 31, but they did. Kramer, you were still a couple minutes late. You were almost right. Still made it. Yeah, I did not necessarily expect Jihaad Campbell to fall as far as he did. If you're listening or you watched the previous video, then you know because I covered it. But the analysts across the league, just about everyone gave him a B+ or higher. They averaged out, I believe, to an A or an A- if you take just kind of the major draft analyst. And, you know, I mean, who knows? Who knows anything really, because most people didn't have all the other things that happened. But overall, I'm feeling really good. I would say, A-? I feel like that's the vast majority of people giving grades for the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. But you guys let me know. Feel free to let me know in the comments. 2020, yes, Michael, 2026 NFL draft looking good for us. 12 possible picks. And see, that's the thing. The firepower that Howie has, he talked about it in the press conference, that there's more options. They didn't want to trade. They didn't want to give up 2026 draft capitals. I think that tells you his plan and what he's going to try to do next year. And I mean, can you just imagine? You look at the guys of this team, it's set up pretty well. You go and make another run at it. That's why I made the statement. I mean, all years are hard. All years are difficult. So I'm not saying by any means that it's easy. But if they were to win and repeat as Super Bowl champions, then I would say, just holistically speaking, 30,000-foot view, it would be easier to repeat or three-peat, I suppose, to get that third one than it would be to get this one, because you lost some guys. You're still going to lose some guys next year, but it's not as significant of magnitude overall. Again, there's still guys out there, but you got a lot of them shored up, and then you added to it this year with the draft capital. You could go and make a play next year in the draft. You have, I believe, 3 third-round picks, or you could, depending on comp picks. So, yeah, feeling pretty legit. I appreciate that, by the way. See, several liking the jerky shirt. Got that from Cam's company. You can go get that at, I think it's jergy.com. I don't know. I don't know the URL, so be careful. But you could search it. Just, you know, jerky, beef jerky. It should pop up. But yeah, I think it was only like $25. Like super cheap, clean design. I mean, why not? Heck yeah. Hopefully we get Cam on the show at some point. But got his guy as well, Will. That is a fantastic point. Yes, there will be a vanilla gorilla emoji at some point. There has to be. I mean, because, my gosh, is there a better nickname? I'm not sure that I would say it's overtaking the Exciting Whites yet, although I've seen some say that it overtakes the Exciting Whites. You got to have a little bit more production. A little bit more production from Ty Robinson. If you have no clue what I'm referencing, it's not the one man versus 100 gorillas. Although I found it very ironic that Ty Robinson gets drafted, and then we start talking about it. It makes Percy, Nicholas, I see that there. Vanilla Gorilla versus 100 Men. Eber, is it Eber, I believe? Vanilla Gorilla can take 100 Men. Texas T got your jerky yesterday. Let's go. By the way, Mike, I believe Mike M is probably watching. I got your Cooper DeJean helmet. I apologize. I am super late. It will be shipped out to you. It will be shipped out tomorrow. I meant to ship it out before I headed to Talladega, and I did not get to. So that's my fault. It will be shipped out. I promise you. I think I saw your email here a second ago. It will be shipped out. So if you're on the stream, I am just delayed. Tyler, not sure if it's been said, who would be my dream guest. It's probably not a surprise. Okay, Mike, you are. Sweet. Okay, I appreciate the understanding. It will be shipped out. It will. I'll send you the tracking, all that. You got it. Not a surprise. Probably Nolan Smith, right? I mean, come on. Met him for the golf tournament. Haven't gotten to interview yet, but he's been busy. Trying to just lay low. He's not on social media too much, so I can respect that. But, Nolan, Saquon, those right up there. I think if I get Saquon on there. In fact, if I could do a round of golf with Saquon, if the person who happened to win the round of golf Saquon bid for the Eagles Autism Foundation is just on this stream, or if anybody knows who that is, they won it, and then, you get to bring 2 other people to golf with Saquon for a foursome. If you happen to know somebody, I'm just putting that out there. I'm free. I'm available. I think somebody won that for like $16,000 on the bid. So more power to you if you could spend that amount and go golf. But yeah, if you could do the double, like golf with Saquon and get an interview and get to hang out and chill, not too much better. I would take either one of those. Yes, Eber, shake and bake. Shake and bake, baby. That was a blast. Shout out to Gary for the hook up there. I'd never been to a NASCAR race, and it just blew my mind. I didn't have any expectations at all. Clayton. I'm not asking you guys to buy. I'm saying if there just so happens to be the benefactor who bought that thing, and they just need a random fourth, I am available. I volunteer as tribute. I'll pay for the flight wherever it is. I'm assuming it's somewhere in Philly or Jersey area. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not asking anybody to pay the $16,000 to win that thing. Doesn't hurt to ask though. Jihaad Campbell. We can get into that as we're, again, Anthony said he would most likely be available, but everybody knows how it is. We had kids and family duties and everything else, so it's always iffy. We could start wherever, really, but Kramer, you're golfing Sunday, but not with Saquon. All right. Well, that's still a win. It's just 50-50, or it's the half of it. Jihaad Campbell, by the way, if you do not see, I will share this. Official news, which I would take as official news. You could still debate it if you want to, and we will agree to disagree. I felt like Jihaad Campbell would be a start, or at least start out as an off-ball linebacker. He's got ability as edge. I know that we had some debate back and forth, especially on the first video after the draft there. But according to Fran Duffy, this was on PHLY, as he was talking earlier today, but Brandon Lee Gowton then tweeted it back out. For the quote, Fran Duffy said, "My understanding from conversations I've had the last few days is that it's going to be off-ball linebacker first for Jihaad Campbell, and then we'll see what happens from there." So, for people that were saying Jihaad Campbell will start out as an edge, not necessarily the case. Looks like it'd probably be Zach Bond and Jihaad Campbell, depending on Nakobe Dean and his rehab. He said he's working to get there, but, I've said this before. More power to him. Hopefully he's able to recover quickly and can get back on the field. But torn patellar tendon, I mean, it's difficult to begin with, especially at his position. It would be incredible if he's able to. So we'll see. But there you have it. From Fran, I mean, he's got really good connections, obviously covering the Eagles, being directly with the organization. I would take it as just about of a lock as much as possible to say that Jihaad Campbell is going to be the starter at or opportunity. I shouldn't say starter. Opportunity, depending on the Kobe Dean and Jeremiah Charlie Jr. They may run those there, but first round selection. I mean, they're going to give him as much opportunity as possible to pick that up. So if you have Jihaad Campbell and Zach Bond, I love that ability because I mean, you could walk either one up to the line. You could have 5 down all of a sudden, run a 5-2, and they've got pass rushing ability. I think it's a win-win. So we will see. CMV have a hard time seeing Fangio put him on the field week 1. Maybe. You never know. Quinton Mitchell was out there. It's hard to say. I mean, would Cooper DeJean have been out there? I know that he wasn't, but would he have been out there had he not injured his hamstring? Possibly so. John M. You're the man, John. Appreciate you. 10 Philly Special Show memberships. Congratulations. E-Barrel Hellhound, Arthur, Last King, Larry Hansen, Tang Yang, Death the Kid, Crazy, Brandon, Solo Dolo, Tavon Bibbs. All get memberships, courtesy of John M. John's the man. Everybody got this there. And also Justin, welcome back to the Let's Run It tier. Justin, the Michigan fan. There you go. Got your boy Miles Hinton, right? Hey now. Gotta like that. Michael, 130K soon. We'll see. It is wild to be at 126,000 subs. So you guys, again, y'all are the best. It's the reason try to do as many of these giveaways as we can, courtesy of you guys, the sponsors of the channel. The bigger this thing gets, players reaching out, interviews, memorabilia, gifts, things to give away, collabs. It's nuts. I all I can say is incredibly blessed and try to make it as special as possible, I guess, for this community. But you guys make the community itself. So thank you for that. Kramer, have I heard from? No, I have not heard. Well, briefly, very briefly heard from Zay. Not a whole lot. I take it that he's enjoying himself, though. I think there's like one interaction, and he just said, thanks, appreciate it, because I was saying like, hey, best of luck to you. But no, I should have thought, and this was kind of after the fact, I should have thought to see if he was free during the NFL draft, because he could have brought on Isaiah Rodgers, react to the Minnesota Vikings pick. I don't know. He probably would have been busy, I guess, but I didn't even ask him. So, yeah, we'll see. Jay Frey, wish you guys had a store. For what? For like, we've got like a couple. We don't have it fully built out, a lot, but for what? Like shirts, or I'm curious. Get a couple of super chats here. Appreciate those. Let me hit on 717 TAC with the 1. I don't see a comment, but appreciate the super chat, the support. Him with the 279, the 279 bomb. Need a new agent 0. Should give it to Campbell. That's an interesting thought. You could give it to Campbell. I feel like they're going to keep it with Bryce Huff. I mean, he's already got it. I understand the sentiment of like, hey, he's not living up to, or maybe he is. Maybe he's living up to Agent 0 just for all the wrong reasons. We've kind of said that before. Yeah. I don't think they're going to give it up. Schedule release. I think somebody has. Yeah, Alex. May 14th is the schedule release. Is that official? I mean, that feels like a decent timeline. I was looking back to last year earlier because I was like, man, what else are we going to get news-wise? And it did look like a week or two into May was whenever we got the schedule release. But I don't know if that's been officially announced yet. Cool Rain, still nothing on the Jordan Davis news. They better get something done quick. Let's just say that. If Jordan Davis is not signed, people that are not aware, not tracking or following as closely, he has to get his 5th-year option picked up by Thursday. I assume by the end of the day, like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern, which is usually when most deadlines are. I don't know that 100%, but it's on Thursday at some point. That is the deadline. And if it doesn't happen, then that's it. I mean, the writing's on the wall. It feels like they're probably not going to pick it up already. It's not like Howie doesn't or can't wait until the very last hour to get something done. But picking up a player option is not, it's not like I think everybody understands this, but it's not like a player negotiation. It's not like we're sitting there with Zach Bond going like, hey, you could get a big contract. You could be on free agency. So we're trying to reach a happy medium here. It's literally, does Howie want to or not? And Howie's not a procrastinator. He's always very well calculated and very well thought out. I highly doubt that it's like, oh, hey, that's actually today, right? Or that's tomorrow. That all of a sudden it's going to be like, yeah, let's go ahead and pick that up now. Like, I feel like we would have already had the answer to it. Could be wrong. Might be nice if all of a sudden you get a little surprise. Hey, Jordan Davis, 5th-year option picked up. Feels like it would have already happened, though. With that being the case, if he plays well, you get a comp pick, better comp pick, and a team pays him, because I assume, Howie wouldn't go, well, we missed out on that, we miscalculated, and then now we're going to pay him. If he doesn't play as well, but they like the value that he still brings, maybe he's team-friendly contract. So ultimately, I kind of view it, and this may be just me, but view it as a win-win. That's what I call it. So, by the way, Anthony should be joining fairly soon. So just got a text. Going to be hopping on here in a bit. So the man himself, Mr. Anthony DiBona, Ant-Man, the wealth of information. He probably answer the 100% official on exact timelines on those. I just know the brief or the general day. I'm sure he could have viewed down to the minute. Justin with a 5, appreciate that, man, said, is there a way too early tight end you like for the 2026 draft? Also, Hinton's going to be a beast, even if he's only a swing tackle. I love it. Yes. Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams, Drew Kendall, the latter portion of the draft, the offensive lineman. Who's the other one? Drawing a blank now. Who was the Rutgers? Holland Pierce? Is it Holland Pierce? I always want to say Hollis. Let me double check. Holland Pierce. Okay, yeah. It's Holland Pierce. Like I say, I always want to say Hollis. Holland Pierce, of course, is the undrafted free agent from Rutgers. But the other ones being drafted, Miles Hinton has the NFL pedigree, talked about on one of those videos. I'm excited about him. And there's a lot of competition, and there's a whole lot of connections. That's another thing that I think maybe gets overlooked at times, or possibly just undervalued, underestimated, is all the relationships they have of these draft picks. I mean, you got Jihaad Campbell, who's an Alabama guy. You've got the connections with some of the, Crimson Tide, but he's also an Eagles fan, grew up that way. The family, maybe not as much, if I'm not mistaken. There's not as many players that you would point out directly to, kind of in a, off, third-party connection. But then you've got Mukuba, Texas. Got some Texas players there. Moro Jomo. I don't think the two played each other, obviously, because he was there and then Clemson. But with the Clemson connection, he has it. So he's got Will Shipley, of course, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. was actually roommates with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Ty Robinson, everybody knows, Vanilla Gorilla and Beef Jerky. I don't know if they were best friends or they were really, really good friends. I couldn't confirm that. I think he said best. Really, battles every day in practice. Cam Jurgens putting in a word for him. I love the clip. If you've not seen it, Cam was doing a Q&A, I think in Ocean Drive, just some random Q&A get-together for the community or with the community. And one of the questions about that was hey, Ty Robinson just got drafted by the Eagles. He's like, oh, go Big Red. Yeah, and he's, texted to me. That was just so wholesome, so just authentic. I loved every second of it. So that was legit. Connection there, of course. Get the info. Mac McWilliams. I don't know if there was as much for Mac McWilliams, connection-wise. UCF. Maybe overlooking something. Smael Mondon. Georgia linebacker. That one's obvious. Philly dog. Everybody. The entire defense, just about, Kyle McCord. Syracuse quarterback. Eagles fan for life. Connections that way. Miles Hinton, Michigan. Cameron Williams, another Texas player. So you do have Mukuba there. They're both rookies coming in, but Texas player. Antwaun, powel-ryland. I don't know if he did either. Virginia Tech. I'm not sure. But like I say, nonetheless, lots of individuals. Let's see. Looking at the Michael, would I keep Davis? I think so. I think so. The 12.9. I mean, it's difficult. It depends on how much they like. There's a lot to like in Moro Ojomo. There's a lot to like in Ty Robinson. And I talked about that obviously the most recent video. And Thomas Booker is a guy that JD's skill set. I think some people will write it off. And early in the season, look, I was even saying that as well. I think a lot of people were of like, man, is he gonna take that next step? Is he in condition enough? And you don't necessarily have to have him play a whole lot of snaps. I mean, a lot of games he was playing more like 20 snaps, if that. But in the 20 snaps, like, okay, if you're only going to play that, you need to make a serious impact in almost every one of those. And you started to see that he did. He kind of took that next step there and helping at least with the run game, if nothing else. So I don't know if you necessarily have that next guy that you're automatically, there's your nose tackle. There's your guy, man in the middle, going to hold it down. So personally, I would. Maybe it's Howie betting on it and going like, yeah, he needs to prove enough, and then we'll try to work out something and get it done. It would just be a little bit surprising. Yes, Anish, Mukuba was at Clemson. I think I said that with Trotter. Roommates. Alex with a 2. Appreciate that. Says cut day will be interesting this season. Gosh, it will. There's just so many candidates out there to make the roster, maybe on the brink. It'll make it fun, though. All right. Texting Anthony, making sure. Pat, biggest surprise was Campbell falling to us. Yeah, I'd probably say the same. Andrew, which tackles make the 53? This is a good question because, yeah, they're not all going to be able to make it. Who do you try to sneak onto the practice squad? You want Holland Pierce, Cameron Williams, Miles Hinton can't all be kept. I mean, UDFA for Pierce, I don't think that he will. I think, how many are you keeping? Are you keeping one or are you keeping 2 of those? I mean, if I had to guess, I'm going to say that if it's the 2, then it's the guys that you drafted. Even though Holland Pierce, there's some potential there for sure. Cameron Williams, I really like if he had stayed, and I think that Fran Duffy, if I'm not mistaken, had said this, plus several others draft analysts, if Cameron Williams had stayed at Texas, he would be, granted, a very early candidate. So, your 2 early mock drafts and candidates to consider. But, he would have been one of those guys that would have been projected first rounder. And the Eagles got him late. They got him, what was that, 6th round? 5th round, 6th round? So, I mean, it's practically like getting a I don't know, however you want to view it, but a first-round talent. If he had stayed another year, developed more, because he's raw. He's only had 16 starts at Texas. But he's basically going to get that at Stoutland University anyway. So if you could just hold on to him, however it takes, whatever you have to do to hold on to him, to not get rid of him or not have him get on the practice squad and get claimed, because I think that it's almost a foregone conclusion. If the Eagles draft a lineman, the rest of the league goes, okay, he got signed off by Jeff Stoutland. So there's something there. We may not be able to get that potential out of him, but there's something that Jeff Stoutland saw out of that offensive lineman. And so, as soon as you let him go, as soon as you try to sneak him on the practice squad, like what you saw with Dylan McMahon, like you see with a lot of people or players, the teams immediately go, yep, take him. He's got to have something, even if we can't see it. Got to have something, because Jeff Stoutland was willing to take the chance on that player. Which is why the Chargers wanted to sign Mekhi Becton. They saw something, at least enough. Caribbean Craig, what's up? APR could be a steal. He can get after the quarterback, see if he can do the rest. I think that's meant to be the rest at the NFL level. Yeah, he is. I mean, production speaks for itself. Like you said, he can absolutely get after the quarterback. I think he's one of those guys, and you can make a career off of this. So there's nothing wrong with it. But he's one of those guys that he dominated the competition literally by just setting up tackles with counter moves. I mean, you go watch his tape. There's so many times where it's not even as much like it is a go-to move, but it's almost so telegraphed because he knows that he's gonna. All right, hey, he beat him with one move inside, so now he's setting it up for the outside move, or vice versa, and he just has the couple moves to go to, and that's it. But if you can vary it up, if you can mix it up just enough, keep the tackles guessing. Certainly at the college level, it worked. Now, that was the knock for some scouts. You know, people are like, oh, well, he's got to get a little bit more. Or he's got to be able to react while being blocked, basically. You know, once he gets engaged, have some other moves. But, you know, I don't know. I would kind of argue that fact, because if you can beat them off of counters, why do you have to play into the game that they're going to be trying to make you go with? But I don't know. I agree. Yes, can't get after the quarterback. If he's a pass rush specialist, we'll see. Run game or run stopping, you know, is he able to kind of hold up, shed the blocks? He wasn't as great, or that was one of the other knocks, I suppose. But 16 sacks? 17 sacks, somewhere around there last season. Another 10 sacks the year before. That it speaks for itself. So, yes, absolutely. At where they got him, you kidding me? You got to be happy. It was funny to not have a 7th round pick, but yeah, 6th round. Absolutely take that. ASO, let's go. ASO, welcome to Breed of One, the highest club. Breed of One tier, access to the Zoom, calls, monthly Zoom calls. Appreciate that. Antonio. APR has a rush plan. Don't use that against him. No, most just rush with speed. This dude's had he does have moves, but I'm saying he just made his career off of counter moves. So I wasn't saying he didn't have moves. It was more so once he gets engaged, if he could try to, but at least just from watching, it was just more so like, all right, counter, you did this one time. All right, I'm going to mix it up the next time. But Aiden. I'll get ASO. Okay, that makes sense. Aiden Sofianos. ASO. Well, I saw that and I didn't know exactly who that was, but I know who that is. What's up? Let's see. Eagle One, you're my boy Blue. Was that another one previously where were we talking about that? Or because we can. I know that I mentioned it in the video. Oh, Benji. I didn't see yours, but I'm seeing it now. Can't wait to see the Kelsey/Campbell soup hats. That actually could be pretty good. That's a good point. Not too bad. Western New York Philly fan, welcome to Let's Run It. See that membership there? Shout out to you. Okay, I'm making sure that I didn't miss any of those. There we go. Yeah, Jaden Blue went to the Cowboys. We could talk about it. I know, Cowboy Blue, not my boy. Was hoping so. Oh, ASO got tired of people finding, on social, so unique name to YouTube. I totally respect that. It makes sense. Cheesesteak. That's not too bad either. I was hopeful. You know, there was a chance that it's not like the Eagles didn't have an opportunity to draft Jaden Blue at a decent spot, right? They just chose not to. It was 140. Was it 145, if I'm not mistaken, that they could have? He went later than that, but they could have right around that point, and they decided to draft, what was that, McWilliams? Again, the draft all runs together. I have to go back and look at the exact number, but yeah, he was one of those I was holding out hope for. Would have been nice. But you got some other good talent. So I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying you shouldn't have gone a different direction. But it is the beauty of it. And look, I love this because I enjoy the draft. I love the breakdowns of it. I love the scouting reports, the mock drafts, let's put together big boards and who do we like, who do we not like, where does that measure up to the general consensus? Or, like I do it all the time with friends. I'm sure that you guys do as well. Here's mine. What do we have the same? What do we have different? But that's all we're grading it off of. So then we go off to the draft, and whenever somebody ends up saying something, and it's like, all right, well, did they have a good draft? Did they not have a good draft? And it's literally our own personal opinion. And ultimately, I mean, at the end of the day, we really know nothing. Like, we could take shots in the dark. And what's a good hit rate? 50%? That's probably even not like possible. Like, that's an unrealistic expectation. So out of the draft, yeah, like, I enjoy it. I totally understand. It's well warranted. It's part of the fun of the draft to react to draft picks, whether they're good or bad, whether we think that they're good or bad. But it is funny because it never fails. And I'm guilty of it as well. But it's like, oh man, that was a good pick. Or, I don't know, I would have gone a different direction. We all have those players. Or I would have preferred to draft Jaden Blue, for example, like I said. But nobody knows for sure. You fast forward 2, 3, 4 years, and then it's like, oh, okay, all right. Well, some of them were accurate, some of them were correct, sure, but then there's also some of them that go, yeah, we didn't necessarily see that one. But that's what makes it fun. Let's see. There was one other question I was going to get to. I think Anthony is joining here. Someone was asking, who is Luffy, who's the guy in the purple in the thumbnail? That is Darius Cooper, the undrafted free agent that we will talk about. But the man himself, Anthony DiBona, joining. Let's see if I can get it to get on the screen or the stream properly. And there we go. I think you're here. Can you hear me, sir?
Am I good?
You're good. Yes, sir.
I'm good.
What's up?
What's up, man? It's been quite a few days here at the DiBona household, but we're okay. We're good. Ready to talk some draft.
Okay. Well, it is good to see you. I love the hat. I know that I've seen it before, but that's pretty dope hat, I will say.
Yes.
So you got the hat correct. Some people would argue that you do not have the T-shirt correct. But listen, I'm a little bold choice.
I'm a little all over the place today. I got both teams playing today. I'm caught in the middle.
I can respect the fandom, but yes, there's some people that may not. I've kept it more neutral, but yes, everybody. You should already. I mean, shout out to Anthony because he's been nonstop draft coverage every single day. I think that I don't know how many extra followers that you got on Twitter over the course of the draft. I know you're like 16,300, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. It feels like that number jumped up significantly over the course of like the month or two of covering the draft, and it's totally well warranted. But if you are not, and you just somehow have forgotten to, or I don't know, you've lost your mind and you just haven't decided to, it's at DiBona NFL. So you need to go follow Anthony and become part of the 16,300 plus.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know about their rookie minicamp invites and random number changes, then listen, I'm your go-to guy. This is what I'm bringing the people.
And nicknames and all the behind the scenes stuff. It's what we're here for.
I'm trying.
I love the text though, because if we're going to go all over the place with this, someone asked about Darius Cooper, so we'll probably hit on everything. But I was just going to say, speaking of nicknames, and you texting about Ty Robinson, and oh my gosh, the Vanilla Gorilla, and so the timing of it too. The fact that this whole is it one gorilla, 100 men, like who's going to win, and then it just so happens that's his nick. Like that's just. You can't make that up. Like it's just perfect timing for the Eagles to get a guy like Ty Robinson.
Yeah, and I had a bunch of people, including my brother, that I feel like I've talked about a bunch of times, that everybody knows is a Giants fan at this point, but he was kind of like hating on the nickname. He's like, oh, well, Joel Prisbilla and all these other people had that same nickname. And I'm like, these are the names you're giving me. These guys haven't done anything with that nickname enough for me, because I'm a big nerd when it comes to like 90s, early 2000s basketball. So I feel like if I wasn't aware of that, then clearly he didn't do enough to hold that and cement that nickname. So Ty Robinson's going to have his chance to really take the Vanilla Gorilla to the next level.
He's got an opportunity. I'm just saying. By the way, Pat says Anthony's got scoops like the ice cream man. There you go. Hey now.
I had a couple. I had a couple this year, but not ice cream. Not Adam Schefter quite yet, but I'm getting there.
You've had some pretty good ones. You had, I know, I'm not going to get them all, but I know for sure just because the name, it's like immediate, I can think of it. But Shunderick, you had the interest there, right, beforehand, before the draft, and obviously the Eagles signing him to undrafted free agent signing, Shunderick Powell, last name, Central Arkansas running back. I mean, at 5'7", 183, you can split squat 495 pounds. That's seems decent. I wouldn't even try that, but it seems really good.
Sounds like one of your like CrossFit sessions, right? Isn't that what you're lifting over
No,
there?
no, not even close. I would kill myself. I don't even know how you get to that level of but I mean, there's explosiveness for sure. You just say he does that. But at that size, it'd be able to, fits right. I think you were saying it too. It's like, fits right in with Saquon and AJ Dillon. He's smaller guy, but see if he can do anything in the running back room. It'd be uphill battle for sure, but still.
Yeah, it's interesting because it feels like, I mean, you had Jaden Blue basically in every mock draft that you did, right? Like, and they obviously hosted him on a top 30 visit. So a lot of people thought they were going to address running back at some point on day 3, especially after they added even more draft picks. So the fact that they didn't do so during the draft was a little interesting, but at the same time, they did sign a couple guys in a draft free agency, and who knows if they'll make another addition before training camp or after final cuts or whatnot. But Shunderick Powell is a very explosive player, and if you watch his highlights, I mean, he averaged over 8 yards a carry. He had over, I think, 1,500 rushing yards. Like, the numbers are there. Obviously, it's a little bit lower of a level of competition, but there was some hype around his teammate, and he really kind of fell under the radar a little bit. But he put up some big numbers in college, and it'll be interesting to see between him and Montrell Johnson, like, who kind of takes that lead as potentially RB4 if they do keep one on the final roster.
Yeah, I've got very, very different types of play style, like you were even sharing. And I had it in the last video, by the way. And I think that the description, or I think the link is in the description also here. But if you're following Anthony on Twitter, then you just have automatic access to it. But Anthony has the Eagles undrafted free agent tracker and rookie minicamp invite. So there's a link there in the description. And you can follow Anthony. You would see it on Twitter as well. But it's very, very well done, as everything is. But if you are not, you should go check it out. It's got write-ups on every player, every undrafted free agent signing. As I said, rookie minicamp invites. Caribbean Craig here with a 10 did have a super chat, said, I would like to get Anthony's take on APR in the 6th round, or falling to the 6th round. I know you were high on him for quite a while from tweets even before the draft, but thoughts on him making it to the 6th?
I mean, you might not find somebody that was more appreciative or higher on APR than myself leading up to the draft, because he was kind of like my Jalix Hunt of this year, because I joined a podcast I do every year where I kind of claim my guys at each position. So we just go down the line, and it's with me with Mark Wolford when he's at I Know Sports on Twitter. But we do it every year. Last year, Jalix Hunt and was my guy on the edge. Johnny Wilson was my guy at receiver. Coincidentally, the Eagles drafted both players, but this year, Antwaun powel-ryland was my guy on the edge. And I didn't think he was going to fall that far. I thought he would maybe be like a 4th round pick or so, because that seemed to be where the mocks had him, in like that early 100 to like 130, 140 range. But obviously fell a little bit further, fortunately for the Eagles, because I don't think he's ever going to be a starter by any means. But I think kind of in that, like, that Bryce Huff role where he's like your third down, obvious passing down, pass rush specialist, and I loved his answer at the combine, because the biggest knock on him is his short arms. They're like 32 and 1/8 inches or something like that. And he was like, they would be like, oh, what do you think about how are you going to rush the passer with those arms at the next level? He's like, I don't know. These arms got me 16 sacks. So they must, like, like, it's like the best answer possible, because I mean, the stats speak for themselves. His pressure rate is unbelievable. His tape is unbelievable. All the moves he can put together. And I said that on the My Guys episode, where I was just so impressed with what he can do. And very similar to Donovan Ezaraku in terms of like his pass rush skill set and like the bag that he has, as far as like his initial move. If it's stopped, he has a counter to it. Then he has a counter to that. Obviously, he doesn't have the 34-inch arms that Ezaraku had, or the blazing fast 3-cone speed. But I think especially that late in the draft, I mean, how could you not love that pick for the Eagles?
Yeah, you're just taking you're just taking chances by that point. I mean, or trying to at the 6th round. So yeah, with potential and getting those. I know they went a lot of offensive linemen as well. People were asking a second ago, like, okay, you can only have so many people making the roster, so it makes cut down day obviously very exciting. Anticipation, who are you going to have making it? But obviously Cameron Williams from Texas, Hinton, Michigan, 2 tackles there. Of course, there's Drew Kendall, but that's more interior type of offensive lineman. So a little bit different competition. Not that he won't have competition, but not necessarily with the tackles. But then also you got the undrafted free agents that you're potentially bringing in there, and Holland Pierce. So you got 3 monsters in terms of tackles that try to battle it out, and who's going to get to stay at Stoutland University and keep their year going. Do you have? I mean, it's crazy early. So to ask you, like, who do you have? But do you have one out of those that you like more, or you see better potential in, or just any favorite?
I mean, just based on the draft calls, which are always fun to listen to and watch that the Eagles put out and every team puts out, if you just look at Jeff Stoutland's kind of demeanor and the way that he answers the phone when they call Taylor Morin from Michigan, he's like, Taylor. Like, I don't know if they had a meeting before or what the case was, but you could tell he was excited for that pick. And I mean, it makes a ton of sense. All 3 of these guys are kind of freakish in terms of the way that they're built. They're all 6'7", 6'8", or bigger. They're all like 300 or 340, 350 pounds. Like, these are massive human beings. And it just feels like the Eagles had such great success with Jeff Stoutland working with Mekhi Becton last year. They were like, hey, let's get 3 guys that are kind of that same build. Just throw these darts out there on day 3, add a guy like Holland Pierce and undrafted free agency, and just see what sticks. It's literally no risk as far as these what you're dealing with, because Howie Roseman was able to kind of trade back, add more picks, add a pick in next year's draft as well. And then if one of these guys works out and sticks, and the other 2 are cut at final roster cuts, it's honestly not a big deal. But if one of those guys sticks and can be your swing tackle or potentially your Lane Johnson replacement 2-3 years from now, that would be a massive pick at this point. Just look at how we view the Jordan Mailata pick when he was a 7th round pick. I'm not saying that any of these guys are going to be that level, but the fact that even if they're a top backup for your team at tackle is huge. And a guy like Cameron Williams, I feel like, was the biggest deal, because there was talks of him. I had mocks myself where I had him going in the 3rd round or the 4th round to the Eagles. So the fact that he fell as far as he did, landing in Jeff Stoutland, basically university, like he's going to be enrolling there and working there. He played nothing but right tackle at Texas. Like, it seems like the perfect kind of fit as a potential Mekhi Becton replacement, where he has that same body style where maybe he could play right guard for the time being and then play right tackle, or even if you just want to bring him along slowly as just an offensive tackle. There's just so many options and different directions that they can go with at this point.
So many guys. You said Taylor Morin, by the way. I know that you meant Miles Hinton for Michigan. But
wow, yes, I'm reading I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Yes. I just want to make correct, because just in case someone's like, wait a second, I didn't read that.
I have him first up on the list.
Yes. So Taylor Morin, wide receiver for Wake Forest. So again, there's there's like 8 or 9 undrafted free agents. There's another
9. Yes.
10,
9 undrafted
rookie
signings,
minicamp invites.
13 minicamp invites at this point.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm kind of sorry. I'm the top.
See, that's why I said no. You
get Miles Hinton.
It totally understand, because you got 20 some odd names running through your head there. But I know who you were meant with the Miles Hinton for Michigan. So it's actually a good unexpected, or really didn't anticipate it this way for a segue, but to go to wide receiver, because you did mention Taylor Morin unintentionally, but Taylor Morin, wide receiver. I think there's thought of like, okay, hey, the Eagles might address wide receiver. They might draft somebody. Same thing for tight end, which we can get into in a little bit. But you at least get some guys after the fact in undrafted free agents. So it's at least worth noting to say, okay, they're going to try to bring some guys in. Is that competition? Can those guys stick on the roster? Who knows? Taylor Morin is one of those. Wake Forest, shades of Britton Covey, maybe, perhaps.
And I think that's like, people might give me crap for like a lazy comparison or whatever, but it's another white, if we're being honest, another white, small wide receiver that didn't have the craziest receiving production in college, but was an elite returner. He averaged exactly 17 yards per punt return for his entire career. It wasn't just one season. And he did have a long touchdown return in his final season. So he also had his best receiving season, as far as he had 64 receptions for 756 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. So I mean, I don't think he's a guy that's going to challenge for that third receiving role, but he could definitely make a push for if a guy like Avery Williams doesn't really do what they're expecting or something like that as far as the return specialist, then Taylor Morin could be that next Britton Covey where he's just the fifth or sixth receiver that offers a little bit as a receiver, but can always be a reliable punt returner and add some real explosion there. But I thought after kind of breaking down the roster after the draft and this first initial wave of undrafted free agent signings that maybe they would add a veteran. And I tweeted out like, oh, Robert Woods is still out there. Oh, Elijah Moore is still out there. And then within minutes of me sending that tweet, Robert Woods signed a deal with the Steelers, and then the Browns put the tag on Elijah Moore. So now even if a team does sign him, it would still count towards their compensatory pick formula, which essentially ruined it for the Eagles. So, I mean, they might be going in a different direction there. I don't know if they'll sign a big name for depth, but we'll see what happens.
See, that's why you got to wait. You can't be putting those tweets out there. See, because you ruined that, and then this last draft, you ruined Howie Roseman going for top 30 visits. He probably would have drafted some of those guys, and then he's like, this dang Anthony DiBona guy out here is tweeting out all these visits and letting people know our formula. So, okay, you know what? We're gonna go differently. We're gonna take other players with ties to the Eagles instead of these top 30 visits.
It ruined my entire brand. I built that over years and years. Last year, I think I told you privately, I don't think I ever said it publicly, but I noticed a scout from the Lions actually started following me and was like literally liked my top 30 tracker on Twitter last season. So clearly people around the league were taking notice, but I mean, it's the fact that they didn't land a single one of them. And I think there was 29 reported players as far as the top 30 and the reported local visits, and the Eagles didn't draft a single one of them. So that's crazy. And real quick, I did have notes here on Miles Hinton, so I'm kind of upset that I missed on that earlier with a little mix up. But he is, as far as like experience wise, as far as the tackles go, he stands out between him and Cameron Williams because he did play between his time at Stanford and Michigan. He actually played starting snaps at both left tackle and right tackle. So as far as like a swing tackle that could challenge like Kendall Lamb for that role, who was a guy that they signed before the draft that has experience doing both, I think he would be more of a winner in that regard.
Okay. All right. I was trying to get the Miles Hinton for people. It's a decent picture. It's not really getting full frame, but for people that may have not seen as much or as closely, Miles Hinton, another just massive human being, quite honestly. 6'6", 330, 325, 330. Moves fairly well. Athleticism, looking for that. Stoutland appreciates, similar builds of Mekhi Becton are just guys that can move and a lot of size, so understandably so.
And both him and Drew Kendall both have fathers that were first-round picks as offensive linemen and played for over a decade in the NFL. So obviously those bloodlines are real in both of those families.
There you go. That's something to be meaningful, I would say, if you've got understanding of playing the NFL. Speaks for itself. Corey with a 5, appreciate that. Said any possible free agent targets for wide receiver or any other position?
I mean, that's
off the top of.
It's not looking good right now. Like I said, I mentioned those two names at receiver,
and I was gonna say Corey, we appreciate the support and the super chat, but I mean, did you just hear what Anthony said? Like, if Anthony says it here, most likely somebody's gonna see it, and then they're going to sign somebody.
What if I text it to you and then you say it? Would that kind of like?
Yeah, I guess we could try. We could test that out. I suppose. I feel like it's still. I mean, someone is going to go. All right, well, there we go. That's the other conduit. We could just go ahead and take them.
But I mean, honestly, it's just like the free agent market, especially after the draft. I mean, you talk about a guy like Justin Simmons. That's like the biggest name of all. But I think the fact that they took Andrew Mukuba like in the second round, I would think that they would want him to be the starter. I don't know if Justin Simmons would really be interested in kind of coming in and being like a mentor at this point. It seemed like he would want to start somewhere. So I don't know if that's still on the table, but wide receiver, obviously the two guys that I mentioned are off the table, but Keenan Allen's another one that's out there, but I just don't see him signing with the Eagles to be their fourth receiver or whatever like that. Doesn't make any sense. And Amari Cooper, the same thing. And then you have a guy like Nelson Aguilar, who I tweeted about, and people were like, oh my God, Nelson Aguilar, you're crazy. But like, that's the caliber of free agent wide receivers that you're looking at right now. So, I mean, I think you could do a lot worse as a fourth wide receiver or a fifth wide receiver, but people clearly don't love seeing that name. And then at tight end, kind of the same thing. I mean, you have a guy like Gerald Everett, who had a very down year last year, a little bit older. Hayden Hurst, Jordan Akins is a guy that's a little bit intriguing, but he's going to be 33 years old. So, I mean, these are just not the most inspiring list that's out there.
Maybe not. Not necessarily. Cheesesteak was saying that if you had a Lion Scout following you, you should have talked up Kenny Pickett more. Maybe gotten a little more interest in a Kenny Pickett trade. So just for future thought, if there's somebody that the Eagles need to get rid of or that we're wondering, you just boost hype a little bit more, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, hey, the Eagles traded so-and-so. Like, all right, that's nice.
I might have to plant that seed for next year and see what happens.
Yes.
I mean, the Lions made some interesting moves, like trading for Isaac Tesla, and who's a wide receiver that many thought was going to be late day 3, and I think they took him in the 3rd round. So clearly they see something with the whole height, weight, speed stuff over there, and it's hard to really kind of the Lions are kind of in that Howie Roseman territory where they've been on a really hot streak lately as far as like every player that they've added has turned to gold. So can't really doubt them. The same with Howie Roseman.
It's fair if they've got a track record like that. But yeah, I was also thinking the same thing at the moment that they traded up and drafted. I was like, I mean, I know the most athletic based on just the combine numbers, but most athletic wide receiver in the class. So cool, that's good. Like, it's not a bad thing, but production, raw, limited route tree kind of needs to be polished up more. But all right, Dave, go ahead, take him. Maybe another weapon. Who knows? Could turn into something there. Guess we'll see. There was you mentioned wide receiver, and the other one that I was going to put up here for people that have asked as well, being like, hey, who's that in the thumbnail? Who's the guy in the purple? So maybe not as aware. Well, that's a little bit too much full screen. So hold on. I will get this where people can see it. But Darius Cooper, undrafted free agent, Tarleton State. There's some intrigue there. There's some potential, at least, with wide receiver competition, very uphill battle. But I don't know. You never know. There's things to like with Darius Cooper.
Yeah, it's interesting because usually it feels like a lot of teams at least with their signings, especially, they're going for these guys that kind of fell through the cracks, but were still from bigger programs. But it's always notable when they take a guy from a smaller school, like when the Eagles did with Reed Blankenship, where it was like, who's this guy from Middle Tennessee or whatever? And then sure enough, they're like, wait, his numbers look pretty good. And you could kind of say the same thing about Maxon Hook this year from Toledo, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But a guy like Darius Cooper, it's just like Tarleton State. Like, where is that? Like, people don't even know where the school is. But then you look at his numbers and you see his performance at his pro day. I mean, he's 5'11", 213 pounds, ran a 4.49, 38-inch vertical, 10.6 broad jump. His numbers are insane. 76 receptions for 1,450 yards, 14 touchdowns. I mean, if you're looking at competition for those last couple of spots, like I said, after those top 3, the Eagles were like, the receiver position is really up in the air. I mean, Terrace Marshall Jr. he got issued the number 46 jersey, which kind of tells you about his standing in Philadelphia. He's basically an end of roster guy right now. Johnny Wilson and Aniyah Smith. I guess you would say it right now that Johnny Wilson is the 4th guy, but he really didn't show much as far as outside of being a blocker last year. So yeah, I don't think you could say any of those guys after the top 3 at receiver are locks to make the roster. I mean, we've seen the Eagles cut 5th, 6th round picks the same year that they drafted him, let alone the next year. So none of these guys should feel comfortable. And I feel like these guys that they've brought in a number of guys at wide receiver as far as invites to the rookie minicamp as well. So maybe they'll sign one of those guys as well. So these guys really need to be on their P's and Q's for training camp and preseason, because they're going to be challenged, especially by a guy like Darius Cooper.
I loved watching the tape. There's something to say, obviously, with, lesser competition. Are they able to live up to the, or step up to the next level? Can they have that same type of productivity? But I don't know. It's like, I would love to know, and I have no idea what the stats say, what the analytics say about like moving up to the next level. What percentage is that at a hit rate? But to lead FCS is one thing. You've seen guys be at certain levels, then move up and be able to keep up with the same competition or the next level of competition. There's maybe something perhaps of the confidence level to say, all right, he was at least the top dog at the level he was playing at. Granted, it was still not NFL caliber or a lot of the guys that are going up there, but we've seen a bunch of guys. I don't know why this is the top of mind, it's just because I did the Ty Robinson video, but Zach Sealer, from Ferris State, and then transitioned to be, take him a little bit to get going, getting more snaps and more playing time, but multiple back-to-back seasons of 10-plus sacks. Like, you don't have to play. Odds are, sure, I guess the more likely for you to turn out is being at that level, but you never know. And as you were saying, 5'11", 213, kind of a more not the height, but a bigger physical type of receiver who's not afraid to fight and win the contested catches there. I don't necessarily hate that. When we look at like slot options, backup options, if you have to get him in there at time to time because we haven't had a solidified person out there, and Anaya Smith, I get it. I'm still hopeful. I would love to see him be able to get more snaps to not be injured. I know that played a factor too for him being out for so long and trying to get back and trying to be healthy. He did end up catching a touchdown late in the season last year. But yeah, I would say just watching some of the Darius Cooper tape and obviously being, Texas people familiar with Tarleton State, I've had a few texts being like, hey, look out now. Like he's legit. Of course, again, would temper those expectations because of the competition level. But it's at least noteworthy. So I'm curious to see how he does.
Yeah, that unknown is always intriguing, right? When you get like these small guys. Same thing with like J. Hunt last year, where third round pick, people are like, wait, from what school? Like, why are they even looking at this guy? And then sure enough, like the thing you have to realize with these smaller school prospects is, yeah, it's obviously great to see them like dominate that level of competition, of course, but you have to realize when they're moving to the NFL, now they're getting exposed to a whole different level of coaching where like the quality of the coaching is so much better. J. Hunt talked about how he was like shocked at the Eagles weight room and how much better that was, and how they had like a whole nutrition department and things like that. A lot of these small schools don't even have access to things like that, where they have somebody and doctors managing their weight and their diet and how they should work out this muscle, things like this is all new to them when they get to the NFL. So it's going to be really fun to watch these smaller school prospects kind of take advantage of this opportunity and see what they can do in Philadelphia.
You never know. We've seen some players. We've even personally for Philly. We'll move on though. There's a super chat here. Black Tie Honey with a 50 bomb. Black Tie Honey with a 50. Let's go. Appreciate that. It says, how do I become a sponsor? And I think someone earlier said you're well on your way. Appreciate the support for that though. Just keep on doing it. No, I could get more info. Like, I'm not going to take a super long time, obviously, here on the stream. But I do sponsorships, ads, and stuff like that in videos. If you're curious on that side, then just email me, thephillyspecialshow@gmail.com, or there's contact info in the description too for the agency. So that's like the main way. If that's what you're talking about for sponsorships. So feel free. We do appreciate the 50 bomb here. But yeah, I mean, there's kind of multiple options. So hit me up. Or just drop another 50 bomb. Just keep dropping 50 bombs. And at some point, I'll just be like, okay, yeah, now you're good. I think it's the first time I've had somebody super chat and then ask about the sponsorship there. But I don't hate it. We don't hate it. Okay. Before we go anywhere else, we've got to talk about this publicly. We briefly did, as we kind of jumped on here. But Ty Robinson, I mean, the dude is just a beast. And there's certain players, I think, every draft that, everybody's got their favorites or their couple favorites. Like, hey, this guy, man, I can't wait to see him play, or he's, underrated, or just watch out, whatever, And the more that I watch of Ty Robinson, the more info that I get on this guy. You texting me this morning, being like, man, do you know what his nickname is? The Vanilla Gorilla. And then we go down that whole line of thought, and the similarities as we were communicating offline and kind of brought up briefly here, Zach Sealer, Vic Fangio, Clint Hurt, being able to utilize him. Can he show up from day one? The Cam Jurgens, like all the different stuff there. I'm telling you that the hype for the Vanilla Gorilla is real. And, like he had some focus because sure, he's one of the top dogs at Nebraska. I'm not saying his life is easier. I'm not saying that at all to go to the NFL. So please, nobody run with this. But he has not played next to Jalen Carter. So that's the other element of it, of going like, I'm just curious of what he might be able to do, even as a rookie, to go, Jalen Carter makes a lot of people's lives a whole lot easier.
I mean, and so does Jordan Davis, right? As far as like taking on two blockers. And
yes.
Because Ty Robinson did a little bit of playing nose tackle there as well. So like the fact that he could just focus, I mean, I think they're going to take advantage of like his abilities where he can, and his versatility where he can kind of line up and be a backup or even the starter in like Milton Williams' role, and then kind of slide over and play the nose in certain situations and things like that. Like there's just so much, even though he is an older prospect at 23 and people want to think like, oh, he kind of is what he is at this point, but just his versatility with Clint Hurt, with the guys that are already there, like you mentioned, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ujoma, like all these other guys, like he just fits so well. And then I feel like if there's never been more like hype, I guess, around the 4th-round pick. Like, I feel like we have to like temper our expectations a little bit, but at the same time, like, why, right? Because like you said, all this attention around him, he's going to be able to, like, he basically had to play all of those roles at Nebraska, and now he's going to be able to just like have these two other guys that are great in their own right, as far as Jordan Davis is a run blocker, I mean a run defender, and then obviously Jalen Carter against everything, just wrecking the entire offensive line. Like, now you have to deal with Ty Robinson, who can rush from a wide 9, he can rush from nose tackle, he's able to get to the quarterback and all these different variety of alignments while also being a great run defender and having the mentality and being utilized as a fullback. And like, there's just so much.
Hey, now, see, we didn't even talk about that, but
there's just so much that this guy can do, and it seems like the personality off the field, from hearing Matt Rule talk about him and Cam Jurgens talking about him, like, he checks all of those boxes as well. Like, just seems like a perfect fit both on and off the field for Philadelphia. And myself, heading into the draft, I said that the interior of the defensive line was something that they didn't address yet in free agency, as far as like, they signed a couple guys on the edge and Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche, but they didn't really make any additions there after losing Milton Williams. But Ty Robinson is their big addition there, and I can't wait to see what he does.
It's there's so many things. I was gonna say too, because you brought up the fullback aspect. Teams like, okay, the Wildcat package, the brotherly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call. You could, I don't know, you put Ty Robinson and you say the Eagles have a gorilla package. It's like, all right, here comes Ty Robinson. You got Saquon Barkley, A.J. Dillon, I suppose, like I don't know, you like a wishbone formation maybe, and just like, you don't have to necessarily run the brotherly shove even. You just say, hey, we got all these guys back here. But I loved it, the stat even, and he mentioned it, I think, in his presser afterwards, but I think 8 attempts, if I'm not mistaken, that they tried to score touchdown or like short yardage situations, and 7 of those resulted in touchdowns. Not too bad if you're lining up your defensive tackle and saying, all right, here you go block for somebody, go light somebody up.
How long before the NFL like says, because if they ban the tush push, which I think is what's going to happen, I know nobody wants to talk about that. It's like old news at this point. But what are they going to do now if the Eagles just switch and they just take Jalen Hurts off the field in those situations? They're like, hey, Harrison Bryant,
come on,
Harrison Bryant, you go under center, because he was basically automatic in Cleveland when he was utilized for like quarterback sneaks. So you put him under center. Then you have Ty Robinson as your fullback with A.J. Dillon also as a fullback, and then Saquon Barkley. Like, the things that you can do and the looks that they can present, it's just like the NFL is just going to ban, like, you can't have anybody that's bigger than like 240 pounds in your backfield. Otherwise, like, what are they going to do at that point?
Right. It'll be a mismatch at some point. It's for sure a mismatch. It makes it fun though, I will say. And people are saying yes, the nicknames are hilarious. It is, yeah. Cause think about it. You've got I guess it goes on like both sides of the ball, but like defensively, you've got the Bread Man, you've got the Vanilla Gorilla, you've got the Hunter, you've got What's Zach Bond's go-to? I'm drawing a blank now. He's had a couple, but it's what was the main one? It was Bond Ultimatum. Was that what people were going with? Or there's a couple that got thrown out there. I don't know if we decided or like set on one.
Was it like the Bald Eagle was thrown out there too?
That's true. The Bald Eagle. Yeah, I've seen those. Okay, yeah, did you do that? Okay, so you got the Bald Eagle. You got the Exciting Whites. Who else am I forgetting? There's a couple others, aren't there?
I'm just waiting for the exciting Whites and Vanilla Gorilla collaboration. That's just going to be. I know somebody's going to put them all on a T-shirt, and it's going to be.
Yeah, you have to. It's
I'm buying one immediately. Just saying.
Everybody is. I just loves like how did somebody think of that? Yes, okay, thank you, chat. I know everybody keep me honest. I was drawing a blank. I was like Bond Ultimate, Billboard Bond. That's another one, but yes, the Bald Eagle. He is the Bald Eagle. And individually, there's the Ghost, but I think it's kind of graduated together. So it's like every time that you say him, it's the Exciting Whites. Quinyanamo Bay, that's true. Yep, I forgot about that.
I just saw somebody put Mukuba Matata, which is hilarious because we're a big Lion King household here. It's my wife's favorite movie of all time. The kids like it, so I might have to.
Yes,
have to
adopt
that one.
Scuba Mukuba, I saw that one also. That's I hadn't seen that till now, but that's actually pretty good.
It sounds like some fantasy football team.
It does. There's a million different ways that you can go with this. All right, Corey, I'm gonna do it on this one here, and then I am gonna draw because I told people that we would for the rookie jersey, and it could be any jersey of your choice, any rookie jersey of your choice. So if you want John Campbell, if you want Scuba Mukuba, if you want the Vanilla Gorilla, I didn't see that one yet, so you'd have to do a custom for him, which is fine. I just don't know. We don't know the numbers yet. So, I mean,
We will in a couple days. Rookie
beware
minicamp,
if you,
May 2nd.
it may take a little bit of time if you want. Although we could probably ask Anthony and probably just nail it. So we may just do that. We may just say, Anthony, what's the number going to be? Just go with it, and you get the jersey of whatever Anthony says the number is going to be. So,
Listen, I got a little
Let you
scared
pick.
as a person that might own a number. I believe it was 51 Landon Dickerson rookie jersey because he wore
Yep.
that before 69.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually broke free before his rookie season. So just be careful ordering rookie jerseys because they could change again before the regular season. So it's
That
kind of
is-
it's kind of cool though, because if you're like the guy that had like the number 2 Jalen Hurts jersey
For sure.
or the Landon Dickerson 51 jersey, like I said, like
Yep.
those are interesting things that you're not really going to see at Eagles games or at a bar or whatever. So it might be cool to also be that guy that has like the wrong jersey or a LaShawn McCoy number 29 jersey. Like those things are fun to see.
Shout out to Matt. I believe Matt's still on the stream. He got the Quinyon Mitchell before Quinyon switched to 27. So he had the original. What was the?
What do you have,
he was
30, I believe? 30, right?
Was it 30?
Was it
Okay,
30?
yeah, it was in the 30s. I
30.
forgot it was 30.
Which
So,
I
yeah,
think might be Jihaad Campbell's number, but we'll see. That's my guess, if I had to guess. Not the prettiest number, but he did wear it at Alabama. Perry Nickerson's wearing it right now, who might be cut based on the corners that they have in rookie, who they drafted, and as far as like the rookie camp invites and things like that. So 30 might break free here soon.
Yeah, I feel like, unfortunately for Perry, that's not a like, hey,
sorry, bud.
Rook wants your jersey. We're gonna go ahead and cut you.
Dallas
we'll
Gant
sign
already
you
had to
back
give his
tomorrow,
up, so
but
they're not playing any games. He had to give up 52 to Azeez Ojulari, so that was rough.
Yeah. Corey, though, with 5, did say, do you think we have enough at defensive tackle? So talking about Ty Robinson and others, but then saying, will Ajomo be enough? I'm assuming that they're referring to also, the Vanilla Gorilla, Ajomo, Thomas Booker, possibly, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. Do we have enough?
I think they could make another addition there, but I think I was higher on Thomas Booker last year than a lot of other people. I kind of was a little upset when his role got a little reduced because I feel like he did show a lot of flashes, but ideally, I don't think you want him playing nose tackle, which is kind of what he did. He's a little bit too, like the size drop off from Jordan Davis to him is kind of drastic. So I thought they might have brought in more of like a conventional nose tackle to have behind Jordan Davis. But on the flip side, that could be a good thing because it could mean that they're either working on an extension with Jordan Davis or going to at least pick up his option and then work on an extension because Ty Robinson did play there a little bit, but I don't think that's his like best or primary position as nose tackle. So right now, I think they're okay, and you could see what you have in like a guy like Byron Young, but it could be in an area where you see a lot of teams right now, especially as rookie minicamp comes to a close and maybe they sign a couple of these undrafted guys that they had on tryouts. You're going to see a couple guys as far as veterans shake loose. So we might see the Eagles grab another defensive lineman in that regard that another team kind of gave up at this point.
Okay, I like that. I was going to ask you actually because you just bringing that up. My thought was, and you make an interesting point there, but my thought initially was Jordan Davis. They have to make a decision in a day or two if they're going to pick up the option. They could still, do that, work through an extension, whatnot, like you were saying. I was leaning towards the writing is on the wall that they're not because, and I guess it isn't. It's ultimately, is it really that big of a deal? Because if they did end up getting an extension, they're fine, I suppose. But I was under the impression that they may not do or may not pick up the 5th-year option just because we're so close to it. And the thought process, at least on that for me, was like, well, how he's so calculated. So like, why is he going to wait till the last second? He knew that this was, okay, the date's here. Do we do it? Do we not do it? I don't feel like he doesn't wait till the 11th hour. Most of the time, it's already like, okay, it's either going to happen or not. But I don't know. You see differently, perhaps? You get it done in a day or two?
It's weird because like with Devontae Smith, when they did it, I think it was in March or April where they announced they were picking it up, and then they announced basically at the same time that they were signing him to an extension where they were kind of like intertwining both of those deals into one. And then you have Jahan Dotson, who a couple weeks ago, the report came out that they weren't picking it up. So the fact that they had 2 players in the same year that they have to make a decision on, and one they basically already announced, not officially, but there were multiple reports came out that they're not picking up Jahan Dotson. And then the flip side, they are kind of taking this Jordan Davis situation to like right at the nose of as far as when they have to make a decision. So I personally, and I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth on this, I actually think they are going to pick it up because I think it's around 12 or 13 million. And I feel like they just saw Milton Williams leave for 25 million a year. And I'm not saying that Jordan Davis is going to reach that amount in the open market, but at the same time, I feel like he's such a pivotal player for both on and off the field. He was kind of that first Georgia Bulldog that kind of ushered in that era of the Georgia players in Philadelphia, and he's so underappreciated as far as what he does as a run defender. And if you look at his playoff performance, he did have those. He had a sack in the NFC Championship game. He had a
Yes, he
sack in the
did.
Super Bowl. So I think there's a really good chance that they view him, especially with working under Clint Hurt, as an ascending player and not necessarily like he is what he is. I think they do think his best days are ahead of him. And if that's the case, I feel like having him guaranteed for at least one more year is really important, where maybe they do end up kind of ripping that up and signing him to an extension on top of it. But just picking it up and having him definitely locked in for one more year, I think is really important.
Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. I've been, like I say, sticking to it's probably not going to happen just because it is later, and I feel like it had already happened. But I mean, financial, like logistically, everything that you laid out there, absolutely. Like I know a lot of people are I think underestimating Jordan Davis's impact to the run game, like you said. So it for that amount of or for that cost, look, no offense to Milton Williams, we've talked about this a couple different times. He got an absolute massive contract deal, and hopefully for him, he can live up to those expectations. But I was thrilled for him and for the Eagles whenever he got that contract, because you immediately go, wow, all right, well, there's the compensatory pick. That's a third round. So good for him. I don't know if that was, I don't, if the roles were reversed and Philly was bringing in a guy that had just had a season like that and had the talent, I don't know that I'd be liking that signing for the amount that he ended up getting, but maybe it's worth it. Maybe he turns into that, perennial Pro Bowler. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, that was, I mean, we've said it. I feel like we agreed at the same time where like once that number got to that point where the reports were coming out and then you're like, wait, this might really be like a 9-figure contract.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, it actually was. And I was like, Milton Williams was good, but was he that good? Like, are you paying, like, you're going from playing alongside Jalen Carter and all these other guys are like next to him to now he's kind of going to be the guy. Like, I don't know if like, I feel like there was a unanimous like kind of thought of among Eagles fans where it's like, all right, I'm comfortable with him going at that number. Whereas if he was making, say, $15 million a year or something like that, I think there would have been more outrage of like, why didn't they keep him? But at that number, it's like, all right, congratulations, Milton. Like, go ahead, do your thing in New England. We'll be rooting from over here.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, well, hopefully more power to you. But we will take the compensatory pick and move on. So we're gonna go a different route with those guys. Okay, I will share this real quick for the people on the jersey giveaway, as I mentioned. So good luck all. Let's see if I can get this on the screen here and see who the winner is. Comments from the last video. And it will be Darian Dudley. Congratulations. Let's say the comment was, isn't going to be a brotherly shove, is there? Well, we'll see. That's the debate. I'm holding out hope maybe for one more year, but I know that the delay and all that's the kind of the writing on the wall. It doesn't feel likely. Anthony's a for sure no, I believe.
Roger Goodell wants it gone. It's gone. Sorry.
Yeah, well,
we got the gorilla package now, right? So people got to worry about that.
Gorilla package, so nobody should be concerned. But yes, congratulations, Darian. You've won the jersey of your choice, rookie jersey of your choice. Hit me up, the Philly Special Show at gmail.com. I will message you. You'll have a week to claim it. I'll also announce on the video if I don't hear from you, and we'll hear back. So, congratulations. Israel here with the 2 said, wish we got Jared Ivey as a undrafted free agent. Go Birds. That was one that I had on the initial mock draft, I think, is like a 3rd round pick. So
yeah, this draft was so weird, right? And I said beforehand that it was going to happen. Like, the consensus was that there was no consensus. Once you got out of those first 15, 20 guys, like one guy on one board would be somebody's 25th best player. And then especially like we talked about Fran Duffy's rankings, like he would be 2 or 3 rounds behind that person as far as his ranking. So they were really all over the place. And we saw it with multiple picks where even with the Andrew Mukuba pick, where a lot of people thought that was a little bit of a reach, where you had that same crop of safeties where it's like Xavier Watts and Kevin Winston and then Andrew Mukuba, and people like they thought he was maybe the 6th or 7th best safety, but clearly the Eagles had him as the 3rd safety on their board and they took it. So it comes down to like personal fit and things like that. But some of these guys that went undrafted was really surprising. But just given the amount of depth that the Eagles have and the fact that they added Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche along with they already have Nolan Smith and everybody else on the edge. Like, they're not the best situation for a lot of these guys that are undrafted, because a lot of the times these agents, if their player is going to go in the 6th or 7th round, they'd almost rather the player go undrafted, because then they have their pick of the landing spot, because there's no guarantee you're making a roster being a late day 3 pick. But if you're undrafted and you can pick a team that, hey, they don't have anybody after their first 2 edge rushers, like, we have a much better chance of making that roster. It's almost better to go through that way. And then you actually hit free agency a little bit earlier as well, where you usually sign a 3-year deal, I believe, as an undrafted free agent, as compared to a 4-year deal as if you were drafted by the team. So it's a lot of different intricacies that go on in there. But yeah, a lot of these undrafted guys that were at the top of the market, they're not necessarily going to see Philadelphia as the top landing spot.
This makes sense. There's not as many holes, especially really across the, like, offensively and defensively. There's a few positions, but you have the top defense in the league. Lose a few guys, sign some from free agency, make some draft selections. So yeah, there's not as many opportunities, I guess, going in and saying, well, we're gonna bring somebody in. We'll see. You never know though with the wide receiver, tight end. They did not bring in basically anybody. There was one, if I'm not mistaken, as I'm going to the tracker because I wouldn't have had the name. Malik Carr, tight end out of Houston. You already had that, of course. Dallas Goedert and the whole tight end situation is, I know we talk about it every single time, and some people are tired of it, but you just at least have to bring it up somewhat because of the reaction of, I felt like Mason Taylor, like, oh, hey, maybe that happens, right? If he's fallen a little bit further, there could be. Okay, fine, maybe not. Harold Fannin, possibly. Let's see. Okay, nope, he's taken. All right, just move on. And it just kept going. Gunnar Helm, maybe. Nope. And then just nobody. You don't draft them. They don't, no undrafted free agents either. It's just a rookie minicamp invite for one tight end, and that's it.
I'm a big Malik Carr guy. I just learned about him after they announced him as like a rookie minicamp invite. But as far as like what I've watched and what I've seen from just him as a player, but he played at Michigan. He played basketball at Michigan State, actually, and football at the same time before transferring to Houston. And 6'5", 250 pounds, 40. He ran. It would have been the 40-yard dash, I believe, among any tight end at the combine. He ran a 4.63 at the Big 12 Pro Day, so he can move. And if you put on his tape, he didn't have any drastic, like, amazing stats. I think his career, like, his single season high was about 30 catches for like 300 and something yards or something like that. But he can make plays after the catch, and that's really intriguing given his size as well. And he's a pretty decent blocker as well from what I've read. So I think maybe he could push our roster spot because, like you said, they really didn't bring in much at tight end. They brought in Harrison Bryant, obviously, and Kylan Granson, who are 2 guys that we've discussed earlier in free agency. But yeah, this whole Dallas Goedert situation is just so weird because you would have thought we would have gotten some type of clarity at this point, because even with the Hassan Reddick situation, we had clarity by this point in the offseason, but it obviously hasn't happened now. I tweeted earlier today that hopefully they end up kind of coming to a resolution like they did with Josh Sweat, where he was going into the final year of his initial contract extension, and then they reworked it, gave him more guaranteed money with incentives to kind of earn a little bit more. But that also happened in March, and now we're almost in May, and this hasn't happened for Dallas Goedert. So the way that Howie Roseman sounds when he talks about it, it's just like, he honestly, like, at this point, he might just be outright cut on June 1st, because it just seems like there's no market for him. It doesn't seem like the Eagles like want to budge as far as giving him an extension. Like, this is getting gross.
Do you want to pay him $40 million guaranteed? You know,
No,
give him the Kittle contract. That was the other thing on top of it. Like, I'm totally with you, because people go like, oh wait, hey, maybe Dallas Goedert, there's an opportunity here, right? And then, as you're saying, listen to Howie Roseman. And it is almost like we're talking about a funeral here. He's just like, we love Dallas Goedert. We love him. He's so great. He's a great player. As of right now, he's here. He's literally talking almost as if it's a foregone conclusion. He's saying everything but saying it. And the body language, the tone, there's like nothing. And you can glean things every once in a while from the other guys that he did end up signing, or that he did end up extending, or that he did keep on the team. And it's not the same tone. So I'm totally with you. It's that combined with the George Kittle situation, and yeah, I'm not seeing that it's likely, but I don't know.
George Kittle got paid. Trey McBride before that got a ridiculous payday. Granted, he deserves it. He's a younger tight end, one of the best in the league, but he got it. Then you look at Jawan Johnson and Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram got cut around the same age, around the same injury problems that Dallas Goedert has. He got like 20 million guaranteed from the Broncos. I mean, Dallas Goedert, money's going to be out there if he hits the open market. It clearly seems like the Eagles don't want to be the ones to pay him. And it's so weird because you look, I mean, I completely understand it. I've been saying for multiple years now that they have to kind of think of his replacement and kind of move on because of the injury concerns. But I mean, a guy that only played 12 games or whatever it was and 30 years old, he's not getting any younger. I mean, they moved on from his best friend, Avonte Maddox. Like, they don't really care about Dallas Goedert's feelings anymore, it seems
No.
like. And it's such an odd situation because he was such a key player for them, especially in that playoff run. But at the same time, it's just like they don't want to get caught in a situation where they're paying a guy like they did with Alshon Jeffrey, where you're kind of paying for, like, rewarding him for what he did in the past, not necessarily the player that he's going to be in the future. And it sucks because Dallas Goedert is an easy player to root for, especially when he's on the field. But it just, unfortunately, it seems like you said, the way Howie Roseman's talking, where it's, oh yeah, he's here for now. Like, we like him for now. Like, you never really hear Howie Roseman speak like that. He's kind of one of the best at saying a whole lot of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that he talks about Dallas Goedert, like you said, is very telling.
It's tough. And by the way, I'm not saying that somebody maybe I'm not sure, misinterpret. I'm not saying we're paying him, even if he were to stay here, that they would pay him Kittle money. I'm not saying that he would get that he deserves that, whatever. But like, there's still a happy medium in there. What you're talking about, Juwan Johnson, Evan Ingram, you can find that, and even in that range, I don't know that Howie Roseman's willing to pay it. Luffy here saying give him 1 year for $12 million. It's not that simple. Even if you wanted to do that, like if I'm Dallas Goedert, I'm going and I'm saying, hey, Kittle is a year older than me and just got a 4-year extension and got $40 million guaranteed. If I'm Dallas Goedert and I have zero guaranteed money and I'm a year younger than Kittle, I don't care if I don't have quite the stats or quite the talent to back it up and say I'm going to equal that. I'm still going in and saying I need 25, 30 million guaranteed money. It's not even anywhere close. I'm not going out there and playing another season, especially if we know it as fans, but especially if I'm Dallas Goedert, I'm like, I'm probably going to get injured again. Like, I usually get injured most every season. I'm not betting on myself with zero guaranteed money.
I think he's missed, at least 4 games every season since his rookie year. Like, it's just the one consistent thing with Dallas Goedert is, as good as he is on the field, he's guaranteed to miss at least 4 regular season games every year. It's just, it's become a thing at this point. It's not hating on the player. It's not anything like that. It's just the truth of the matter. And then, like I said, I think the best case scenario for both sides, especially given that they didn't address it in the draft, is that Josh Sweat situation where you kind of rip up this final year that he has on the deal right now, and you say, "Hey, we'll give you $12 million fully guaranteed, and then you have the opportunity to earn up to 15 or 16 million with incentives." Where you're kind of pushing from like, if you get 800 receiving yards or 8 touchdowns, like these different kind of benchmarks that he could hit to kind of get, or we go back to the Super Bowl, like things like that, like. You add those incentives to kind of make things work for this final year, and then he can hit unrestricted free agency in 2026, coming off hopefully the best year of his career, like Josh Sweat did. But like I said, that was done in March. We're almost in May. It just doesn't, like, all signs to me point to him just being flat out cut after June 1st, because it sucks, but it's kind of the point that we've reached.
It would be kind of wild, but also understandable. Like you said, it's just kind of trending in that direction for a player. One of the fan favorites works incredibly hard. The dirty work, is willing to block. At times, it's like, man, why is Dallas Goedert getting forgotten in the passing game? Like, just not targeting him at all, but he still puts in the work blocking, even if he's not getting the ball thrown to him. So I can respect him for that. It'll be difficult if and when he's released or traded or whatever happens, but. We'll see. Maybe they go with a different direction. You still have offensive weapons, but who is that? Is it they're tied in by committee? Is it you just hope and pray that Grant Calcaterra learns how to block? Or at least a little bit better of blocking from last year. We'll see. As we're getting close-ish, because I'm gonna wrap up here in just a little bit. But I was gonna say, as far as some of the other UDFA signings or rookie invites, we touched on a couple different guys, but I don't think I directly asked you. Do you have any other standouts or any other interesting players that have kind of caught your eye in terms of guys? Because rookie minicamp, for those maybe not aware, May 2nd through the 5th. I believe you were the first one I saw. I think broke the news before anybody
Yeah,
else.
I don't
So
think any other
kudos
reporters,
to
like
you.
after the draft, these other reporters are trying to take a vacation. I'm the only one that's out there. Like,
Understandably.
when is rookie minicamp? Like, I'm a weirdo with that. So
Why I was gonna say I'll make sure to give credit to you because I think you were the first one. I'm making sure, but that was where I saw it. So you broke those, but May 2nd through the 5th is rookie minicamp. So that'll be the opportunity for these undrafted free agents, obviously the ones that were drafted too, but the undrafted free agents and the rookie minicamp invites. One or two players catch your eye, standouts, just to keep an eye on?
So the one invite that caught my eye was a guy that we already talked about, and Houston tight end Malik Carr, simply because he's basically the only tight end that I've seen reported as far as undrafted free agent signings or the rookie minicamp invites. And like I said, we've seen, like, I know it's not a guarantee, but we've seen these former basketball players with great size transition and play tight end at a high level. I'm not saying he's Antonio Gates or Tony Gonzalez, but he can potentially push for maybe the 4th roster spot if he does make the team. I feel like he can kind of make things interesting because, like I said, he has the blocking capability, has it, like, offers quite a bit after the catch, which was really intriguing, all with his speed, 4.63 at the Big 12 Pro Day, like I mentioned. But then with as far as the guys that they actually signed, I know we touched on Holland Pierce, and I unintentionally mentioned Taylor Morin, but Maxon Hook is a guy that I tweeted about, kind of went viral because it was about his connection with Quinyon Mitchell, and they were roommates at Toledo and best friends on and off the field. They started alongside each other. I mean, he was a guy that a lot of people had as far as like draft experts that were maybe a late day 3 pick, as far as early as like the 5th round or so. We saw him in certain rankings, but just a ton of experience at safety, over 2,600 snaps, played across 5 seasons at Toledo, but primarily played in the box. So more of like a bigger safety. He had over 1,500 snaps in the box, but he also had 600 snaps as a deep safety, almost 400 snaps in the slot. So a little bit of versatility there, but I just think going back to the whole Reed Blankenship situation where he was an undrafted free agent and now he's a starter and going to probably get a pretty big contract in the year or two. But I think he can kind of push for that depth spot at safety, especially given his connection with Quinyon Mitchell. I'm not saying he's going to make the team because of that, but offers a ton of value on special teams as well. I think he blocked a couple punts or kicks at Toledo too, which is the easiest way for these guys that are end of the roster guys to kind of push for a roster spot, which is very important, where you could just make a living as a gunner or a personal protector and punt coverage, things like that. Like this is a very important like position that teams need to fill on their roster. They need to know which guys can cover these roles on special teams. Look at a guy like Oren Burks. He got his chance obviously later in the season to actually see the field at linebacker, but you've got to be able to do something on special teams if you're going to be a depth player on any roster in the NFL. So Maxon Hook is a guy that not only do I see some potential as an actual safety, but I think he could be a core special teams player as well, as far as the undrafted signings.
And maybe most importantly, again, we've mentioned all these different nicknames, but Captain Hook, I mean, come on. You got
that was off the top of my head. I mean, I might not have any hair up there, but that was pretty good.
That was pretty good. I would say yes. And I mean, for him to be a captain previously, it just makes perfect sense. He's Captain Hook. Probably not a while before, even if he makes the roster for the Eagles of being a captain, but it's too good to just go ahead with Captain Hook. So I like that. I could appreciate it. Add it to Captain Hook, Vanilla Gorilla. Does Jihaad Campbell have a nickname? I feel like somebody had posted that, but I don't know if I've seen it. Have you seen anything nicknamed Jihaad Campbell?
I have not, but
Okay.
I mean, I saw somebody put the Jihaad writing or whatever.
Oh,
I think
yes.
it was who was it? I forget the site, but I was like, oh, that's okay. I don't know if anybody would find that T-shirt, but
just try to run with anything, I guess. But
there's some interesting stuff out there.
There is, yes. Okay, the other one that I was going to mention here real quickly, as I probably wrapping up here in a couple minutes, is we touched on a couple of different ones. We didn't for Smael Mondon. You had some correspondence with Smael before the draft, so that's a guy that there's so many draft picks. You go down, you look at it, or to call out that, they just felt like should have, could have, would have been drafted a round or two earlier, and they're just like, oh, hey, can Philly take best player available? There's another option. But thoughts on him within Fangio defense and what he brings to the table?
Just another guy that's kind of like the smaller version of Jihaad Campbell, where he's just play multiple roles. I think immediately, once again, he would, similar to Jeremiah Trotter last year, where he's going to be an immediate contributor on special teams at the very least. And then obviously he can push for a potential like backup role or maybe even spot starter role as a linebacker as well. But just great athleticism, like a lot of versatility as far as what he can do in coverage as well. I mean, a lot of people want to talk about maybe he's a little bit on the light side for a linebacker, but I think considering his connections to the Georgia guys, of course, that's always going to be the Eagles' calling card. It was only a matter of time before they added a former Georgia defensive player. And like you said, there were some people that had him as like a third or fourth round pick, but against the Eagles, I don't think it was the same, like as far as the elite names that people were so excited about the last 2 years, where they got Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, then they got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Like I feel like Jihaad Campbell is in that category, but then the Andrew Mukuba pick was not like unanimously praised like those other picks were. I feel like there was a little bit more like a division with that pick. So I don't think, but I also think we just get super spoiled by the Eagles like draft success in recent years, where it's just like
No, you think? I mean, guys just
they're just
falling
so good
randomly.
that it's just like at this point I just sit back and let's like, all right, let's let them do what they do because these picks are going to pan out. Like they're going to hit. I'm like, I've given up on doubting any of the picks. I mean, I did criticize Mac McWilliams a little bit. I thought that was a little bit high for him, and I thought that he's more of just going to be a slot cornerback at next level. So that was a little weird to me. But going back to Smael Mondon, it's just like a guy, like I said, that you mentioned, and I didn't put it out there when it happened, but I tweeted about the whole Georgia connection with the Eagles. He actually followed me. I didn't tag him or anything like that, but he followed me at the time. I followed him back. Then we had a little exchange in Twitter DMs where I mentioned, I was like, hey, listen, it would be kind of crazy to reunite with your guys in Philadelphia. I mean, all these Georgia guys there. And he was like, it'd be crazy to see that happen. Then he talked about a little bit about his injury history. He said that to me as well, how he kind of thinks everything happens for a reason. And I mean, I could read it word for word. He just said, I think injuries are a part of the game. I feel like it's more important how you shake back from them rather than the injury itself. So it seems like he has the right mentality as far as turning things around. And obviously in Philadelphia could be the best landing spot for him as far as coming along slowly, being able to be around the guys that he worked with for so many years at Georgia, and then capitalizing on the opportunity.
Yeah, not a better spot. I think we'd all agree with that. You got your Philly Dogs. Add to that with the defense, like you said, it was only a matter of time that you get somebody there. And I'm excited about it. I will say, and people, look, full transparency. I said this at the top of the stream. It's fine to disagree, or it's fine to be like, oh man, that's not exactly who I wanted Howie to draft. And he's also not immune to making mistakes. He's not made too many, especially early in the draft, the first 3 selections over the last 4 drafts or so. But he still could. Personally, whenever they took Andrew Mukuba, I was wanting Kevin Winston Jr. Now, they brought him in for a visit, so who knows about the injury status if they took a look at the ACL and they're like, that's some concerns. Or Mukuba was at the top of the board. He might have been higher than Kevin Winston regardless of the injury. It might have just been like, okay, you know what, we got some more info, but we're leaning that direction. So I never said that it was a bad pick, but that was just one of them there. I was like, from what I know, which is very limited compared to what the Eagles know and bringing them in. So there's still the trust factor being like, hey, they made that selection, so I'm going to trust it. Felt like that would have gone a different direction. But, I mean, yeah, it's like, come on. You took Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman and bringing in guys that Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, maybe that's not as much of a risk because you're like, wow, how did they end up falling to where they did and Philly got him? But there were a lot of people, not everybody, kudos to you, sir, but a lot of people that Jalix Hunt, when he got taken in the 3rd round, were like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? We just drafted a guy from Houston Christian? Huh? Like a guy who's played 2 years at edge, and then look how Jalix Hunt turned out. Look how he was able to play in the Super Bowl. One of the best pass rush win rates out of all the Eagles players in the Super Bowl. Played really well in the playoffs, continued to get a bigger role on the defense. A definite contributing factor for sure for the success. So, yeah, I think we all trust Howie, trust Vic Fangio. They know what they're doing.
Yes, that's for sure. One more thing with Andrew Mukuba is a thing I've seen a lot of people saying is talking about how undersized he is as far as his weight, where he was 186 pounds, I believe, at the combine. But if you do look at Texas Pro Day, which was several weeks later, he actually weighed in at 194 pounds, which is a lot closer to the I guess the traditional safety weight in the NFL or so. So I think that's being like blown way out of proportion as far as like he's this skinny. I mentioned how personally I think Rodney McLeod is a good comparison as far as the size as well. Very similar height, arm length, weight, and now Mukuba is even bigger if he can play at that weight. So the fact that people are kind of saying, oh, he's too skinny to succeed at safety, I feel like it's a little bit crazy. And I think he'll be just fine with you. Look at his ability in coverage. I mean, the biggest concern with him is missed tackles, which is kind of the same thing with Sidney Brown, where he's a little bit too aggressive at times and kind of slip up in that regard. But as far as coverage and taking the ball away, which is something that C.J. Gardner-Johnson did at a high level both years that he was in Philadelphia, I feel like Mukuba is going to help in that area. and be able to kind of be that ball hawking safety for the Eagles.
I'm excited to see it. I think there's options. I also am of the same mindset as you said earlier. We kind of referenced Justin Simmons, but is there an opportunity? Probably less likely because of the draft selections and what they're looking to do here. But never say never, I suppose. But you don't necessarily go in like, hey, you got a second round pick, but we're gonna make you back up. We're gonna sign another guy. It just feels unlikely. So we'll see. Could happen.
Also,
but
one more
unlikely.
thing with Justin Simmons, I know you got to get off. It's just spoiler alert, he was not very good last season. I know people see like Justin
for
Simmons,
sure.
former All-Pro, like they just see the name and they get excited, but he was not good last year for the Falcons. So that's something you got to keep in mind too. If you're not, this could be very much like the Kevin Byard signing where you're kind of getting that former All-Pro, but when they're not an All-Pro anymore. So you just got to be careful with things like that. The name doesn't always fit the player that they are right now.
It's true. And for him to be like singing the praises of Vic Fangio and Christian Parker when before there were some rumors of like, he doesn't want to necessarily play with Fangio again. You know, that doesn't, who knows the entire truth there. I was just wondering, I'm like, you know, if you have some little interesting situations and experience some failure or some kind of downfall there in your game, all of a sudden you're willing to maybe play for a guy that you were successful because you're like, all right, hey, I looked good whenever I was playing a Fangio system. So maybe, huh?
He's
you
like,
know,
hey,
sign with the Eagles.
Christian Parker, you remember me?
Yes,
You remember me?
yeah, exactly. Yes. It's like, hey, okay. You know, if I can play with those guys. If I get, I mean, you know, heck, if I was going to be a safety too, I'd be like, you want to be a safety for Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, or do you want to go be a safety for, you know, name your squad for Jacksonville? I mean, I know they signed Travis Hunter and try to beef it up with the draft picks, but like, night and day difference. So, I can't blame him for making that statement. All right, last one here, because I think we've touched on just about every pick and selection and other news that we could. Kyle McCord got a quarterback. We're not going to go deep dive into Shedeur Sanders and everything else, even though some people have, and that's just a whole different situation was Philly going to. But I've seen some very irrational takes out there if Kyle McCord is going to be QB2. I mean, are we crazy? Are we losing it?
I mean, it's not going to happen this year, of course.
No.
I think Tanner McKee is clearly the guy. But
yes,
it is interesting because before, obviously, they added Dorian Thompson-Robinson. They apparently showed some interest in Joe Milton, where people were like, they might trade for him before he got moved to the Cowboys, obviously. So everybody was like, oh, they're looking at multiple quarterbacks. Like they want another running quarterback behind. Obviously, Kenny Pickett could scramble a little bit, not to that extent, but he had some athleticism, whereas Tanner McKee is more of just staying in the pocket. He can make a little bit of plays outside the pocket, but he's not running for really anything special. But now they're doing kind of double dipping with that with Kyle McCord, who's another. He has more athleticism than Tanner McKee, but he's not Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts, where he's going to be using his legs and making these rushing for 70, 80 yards in a game. But I personally like the pick. The only thing is that I've seen a lot of people say because of where he grew up and he had the Eagles jersey on that he was an Eagles fan. But if you actually watch John Gruden, who's with Barstool Sports now, he had his Gruden quarterback camp this year, and Kyle McCord had one of those episodes. He actually says he wore number 6 growing up because he was a diehard Jets fan, and Mark Sanchez was the quarterback when he was a kid growing up. So
okay, well.
That's just, I want to clear that up. I don't know if that's going to change people's opinion on Kyle McCord. I still think he could be a solid backup. But yes, he was a Jets fan. He was not an Eagles fan.
Okay, yeah, that automatically, regardless, it bumps it down to QB3. So
he might not even make the roster now.
Maybe not, honestly. I mean, come on now. He was making the statements of, the Donovan McNabb, the Syracuse, and all this other stuff. But
fraud.
We appreciate, yes, the realism there. It's like, look, there's the internet is undefeated, and somebody's able to dig up some information. So I actually did not catch that, but that is a good piece of news.
I'll send you the clip.
I already was not going to say that he was QB2, but yes, I would be curious now because I was like, hey, people are just running with it. I've seen these takes, and it's like, no, Tanner McKee played like a stud. Whenever he's gotten in there, he's more of a gunslinger, perhaps a little bit aggressive at times, but no,
They literally traded Kenny Pickett because of their belief in Tanner McKee after that Week 18 game and what he did in the preseason and even the week before that. So like he can make plays. He's got a much better arm than Kenny Pickett, obviously. So he's clearly quarterback number 2. It's just going to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord now battling out for that 3rd spot.
Yes, and Garrett here with the 5 says, we had people wanting Tanner to be QB1. Now they don't even want him to be 3, which is crazy. Some people, the recency bias, I guess. Like you draft a quarterback, oh my gosh, Kyle McCord. Like, yes, that could be the guy. He's your QB2. But come on, go back if you've forgotten already. And I don't think there's a majority, so I'm going to preface it with that. It's like, no, I don't think that's a majority. But I've seen a significant amount of people that have on social media like, oh, hey, look out, like Kyle McCord's going to be the guy. He's going to take over. Just wait a little bit. Tanner's played really well, and if you need some production of that, go back and watch the game against Dallas where he's carving him up. AJ was having fun out there. Let's just say that. AJ was having a good time getting the ball thrown by Tanner McKee, so he knows what he's doing. All right, I think that does it. I probably do need to wrap it up. So,
like I said, I saw you check the phone a couple of times, so I think
it's just double checking. Yes, we're gonna wrap it up here, but it was fun. It was a blast as always. Anthony, appreciate you coming on. Everybody, make sure, if you're not, I'm going to say it a million times, but follow at DiBona NFL. Shout out to, again, Darian Dudley, who did win the jersey giveaway. So, Darian, hit me up, the Philly Special Show at gmail.com. And Mikey M, I got your helmet again. I will say that, but I will ship it out tomorrow. So, just thank you for your patience. It will get shipped out. I'll send that to you. And also for the Philly Dogs ice cream social hangout thing, still no dates officially announced. Eagles Autism Foundation said they're working through dates and whatnot, and players are just reporting back. So stay tuned for that. We'll announce the winners or spin for the winners there. But stay tuned, like, subscribe, more videos to come. Eagles Rookie Minicamp, May 2nd through the 5th. And there's a unsolicited advertisement
up by 25 right now, baby.
That's for Anthony's team. So, all right, we appreciate it, guys. As always, go Birds.